Welcome to the She Plays On Women's Football podcast. I'm your host Harry Chan. In this episode, I talk with Lewes attacker Ellie Leek about playing abroad in the US and France. But first, some news from this week. "24-year-old Lyon striker Ada Hegerberg has signed a new historical long-term sponsorship deal with Nike that reportedly runs for a decade and is worth upwards of €1 million to the Norwegian player. Hegerberg said that, quote, "Nike and I have common goals to elevate women's sports in the years to come. In my opinion, these are exciting times ahead for women's football, and it's especially promising to see this during the pandemic, where companies and sponsors continue to support the sport as a whole." We will later in the show look at the ownership system of different clubs. For example, Championship club Lewes is 100% fan owned. We discuss this further with their player Ellie Leek a bit later in the show. England midfielder Jill Scott has signed a new 2-year deal with Manchester City that will see her combine playing with a coaching role. The 33-year-old, who has 149 England caps, joined City in January 2014 and has played 167 games for City in all competitions, scoring 24 goals. Jill Scott, who was awarded an MBE in the 2020 New Year's Honours List for service to women's football, will work alongside the new head coach Gareth Taylor and assistant boss Alan Mahon. Jill Scott said that, "I'm a player first and foremost. I've been named as player coach, but I still want to play for this team and get success. This system, in my opinion, could help other women players, giving them the chance to have coaching experience as they move on from their playing career, especially important, I think, in this industry, since retired players have, unfortunately, in general, less opportunities to make money through ads or sponsors compared to male players." Everton player Izzy Christiansen has joined Common Goal, a collective social impact movement enabling anyone involved in the world game to donate at least 1% of their salary to a network of football-based community projects, supporting young people in more than 90 countries. Of the 153 players and managers signed up, more than 50% are female. Considering the often vast gender disparity in salaries, that represents quite a statement. Now, Christensen said that it's really important to women football players that we are role models as well, and it gives you an insight into the type of people we are. We fought battles throughout our careers to change perceptions. Common goal is so relevant to us. It reminds me of a few interviews I have already with some players. Most of them play the game because they love it, not because of the money, because frankly there aren't a lot to be earned in this industry at the moment. 26-year-old forward Nikita Parris has apologised to former international teammate Eniola Aluko, now sporting director of Aston Villa Women, for her show of support for then England boss Mark Sampson in 2017, writing, "I am sorry that my thoughtless actions caused you hurt." Since then, Aluko said she acknowledges and accepts former England teammate Nikita Parris' apology for the controversial goal celebration in 2017. After scoring a goal against Russia, Parris ran to celebrate with Sampson, who was at the time accused of racially discriminating against Aluko and Drew Spence. Mark Sampson was later sacked the day after the game, and an inquiry later ruled that Sampson made unacceptable remarks to Aluko and Drew Spence. The FA apologised to her for racially discriminatory remarks made by Sampson after a third investigation into his behaviour, but cleared him of bullying accusations. Aluko added, quote, "During the current climate, Nikita leads the way for the England women's football team in acknowledging and addressing past individual and collective actions with regards to racism." The 33-year-old retired from football in January, having won 102 England caps, the last coming in 2016. We'll be back. Arsenal woman goalkeeper Pauline Pierrot-Magnin will leave the club when her contract expires this summer. The 28-year-old French international made 26 appearances in all competitions after joining from Lyon in 2018. Birmingham City forward Lucy Whipp has signed a new deal to stay with the club until the end of the 2020-21 season. The former Everton striker joined the WSL club in August 2019 following a 4-year spell in the United States. Scotland forward Lizzie Arnold will leave Manchester United women when her contract with the club expires later this month. Arnold, who has been capped 32 times by her country, moved from Hibernian alongside Christy Smith to the newly formed United side and went on to make 34 appearances for the club, scoring 9 times, and one of those goals was the club's first ever competitive goal in a 1-0 win over Liverpool in the Continental Cup in August 2018. Finland forward Adelina Ekman has left Chelsea women to join French Division 1 feminine club Montpellier. The 25-year-old joined the Blues in the summer of 2018, scoring 6 times in 25 appearances for Chelsea. 28-year-old Everton club captain Dan Turner has signed a new 2-year contract with the Women's Super League club. She scored the Toffees' first goal at the new Walton Hall Park Stadium against Manchester United in February. Tottenham Hotspur fullback Ashley Naval and goalkeeper Becky Spencer have signed new contracts with the WSL side. Naval, who is 27, made 12 league starts in the club's first top-flight season and has agreed a 2-year deal. Meanwhile, Becky Spencer, who is 29, has signed a 1-year deal with the option to extend for another year. Everton forward Chantal Boyer-Hloka has signed a new 1-year contract extension with the WSL side until June 2021. The 24-year-old has been with the Toffees since coming through the Centre of Excellence as a youngster. Netherlands midfielder Tessel Middag, forward Esme de Graaf and goalkeeper Anna Moorhouse are set to leave West Ham when the deals expire this summer. Central defender Mark Sampson, who spent this term on loan with Championship London City Lionesses, will also leave East London. Striker Rochelle Littlejohn and fullback Olivia Smith are the others to leave, having arrived on short-term deals for the season. Welcome back, everyone. Our next guest plays for Lewes FC in the Championship and was named to the 2017 Fall South Eastern Conference Academic Honor Roll when she played in the United States. Please join me in welcoming Ellie Leek to the show. So welcome Ellie to our show. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing fine as well, thanks. So now obviously you played in quite a number of countries. Like you played in the States, you played in France, you played now in the United Kingdom. So what are the biggest takeaways from these experiences?
So going from America's a really physical sport and it's really fast. So I was kind of used to playing with extremely fast players and, knowing that if I put a ball through, my player was probably going to get on the end of it. And then in France, I think the standard, it dropped quite a significant amount from where I was playing in America to go to play in Division 2 in France. It just kind of was a bit, it was just a bit slower and, fouls were a bit more, soft, I guess. Yeah, and then coming back to England, I think I was really surprised at how far the women's game had come coming back to England. And I think now I'm in the league that I'm supposed to be in, and I'm just excited to go out there and be playing with great players week in, week out, and able to develop myself further. I think I definitely have a lot more to give to the game at this stage of my career, so I'm looking forward to next season. So, of course, you chose to study a degree, in the States at our university before going into football. Now, of course, this is as we have said, this is quite a
different pathways. Some players choose to go into playing directly. Which one do you prefer, like, for yourself?
For me personally, my experience in America is something that I value out of probably the most things that I've done. I grew up in an extremely small village in Wales, and to just go and live in a different country and experience a different culture and be surrounded by some absolutely brilliant people. Like, the girls that were on my team were just so intelligent, and they like pushed you every single day. It kind of gave me a whole different mentality and taught me how to push myself to the best that I possibly can. And I think that's now able to relay into, what I do for a living, like, daily, and what I do on the football pitch. I don't think I would have, reached that mental capacity if I hadn't gone to the States. But obviously, I haven't done the other avenue, so I'm probably biased. But yeah, a lot of my friends did a similar avenue, and they're all doing great now. And I think it does really, it builds you as a person more broadly and gives you a lot more about you, as opposed to just, always be in football and in football. I think the transition, if you're just in football to real life, can be, extremely hard if you haven't had a little bit of experience.
You're still a young player, but what advice would you give to yourself when you were still a young player, like when you were around 18, let's say?
Yeah, I think I had a bit of a temper. And, it was hard to sometimes, really take in everything that was being told to me at the time. And I had some great coaches. Mark Sampson was my coach, who coached the women's England team. My coaches in America have immense experience, been coaching for many, many years at a top level. And just to absolutely embrace everything that they tell you. I think my coaches in America loved that I challenged them on situations, but I think it was just because I come from a British background of playing. And I think, together they helped me grow not only as a football player, but also as a person. And it's just being receptive to the people who are coaching you and listening to what they say, and not being afraid to go back to what they've said to you if you didn't originally agree to it, and understand it, and just just be a sponge.
When you were playing in different countries, right? I just want to know, actually, is there a difference in reception towards women's football in the 3 countries that you played in?
I think it's viewed. It's a difficult question, because when I first left the UK, I think women's football was in a completely different state that it is now. But when I first went to America, a lot more girls play football, and it's a lot more common for a girl to play football than it is for a boy. And that's why probably the US women's national team has been so successful. But yeah, in France, it was quite sexist in France. You kind of, you wasn't as respected as highly as you are, I guess, in the UK. But then also now, like, the BBC do post about women's football, and the abuse that female footballers receive on those posts is absolutely disgusting. And it's kind of been an eye-opener to me, just with how much women's football has grown, how many, ignorant people that there are who just can't respect, what somebody does for a living. I'm sure if those people want to actually watch the game, they'd be extremely impressed with what the women's game is doing right now. But yeah, that's the main difference, I guess.
Lewes is model of a fan-owned business, and you have, of course, more fans being involved in women's football. Do you think this will at least partially help with the problems that people don't understand women's football?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of the kids down there, boys and girls, they look up to both the men and the women's teams. So we're giving kids the, role models, look up to not only male footballers, but also female footballers, and us both to be on the same platform. As well as we'll go get stuck in with some of the coaching with the younger teams, and as some of my teammates do there. And the men are really, they don't speak to us any differently. in that club, just because, we have equal amounts of respect, and, we're really striving for that equality. And I think a lot of clubs can, benefit from it. And I don't think it's something that's going to happen with, like Man United, Arsenal. It's not going to happen with them for them to be paid equally, but a lot of the men's players can go and watch the women play now and have great respect for what they can do. And a lot more men, like professional footballers, speak out about how well women's football is and how well they're doing. So, I think it's going the right direction. And I think we'll always have ignorant people.
If you can change one thing about, women's football, what would you change?
If I could change one thing about women's football, it would be that, players who are playing in the top 2 divisions, top 3 divisions, were getting paid a lot more money. We as female footballers sacrifice so much to play the sport just because we absolutely love the sport. And I would be really curious to see how far the game could go and how competitive it could get if it did get that funding. And I think spectators would come pouring in to watch the sport, and it would end up paying for itself eventually. It's the fastest growing sport in the world right now, and we're just looking for people who are ready to buy into it, and so we can kick on and make those next big steps.
Do you think, because we were talking about that a few weeks ago, do you think in the championship players should get full-time contracts as well?
Definitely, yeah, 100%. It's hard because some teams in the championships do have full-time contracts, and we're competing with those teams week in, week out. But then also in the cup competitions, we're competing with the top tier divisions who are all full-time professional. And I think we're immediately at a disadvantage when we're going up against those teams. We can't fully focus on being a footballer all the time. Like, we can't, make sure we're eating and preparing our bodies as best we can. But, most of us have to get up at 6 o'clock for a job and work until 5 p.m., 6 p.m. every day, and then go to training, get into bed at 11 o'clock. Like, we don't have the opportunity to, fully recover and make sure our body's in the best state that it can be, whereas the other clubs do.
It's something that you and your girlfriend Martha Thomas, Kate Longhurst, and Jess King, you're doing a challenge called, let's see, the 365 kilometers birthday challenge. Can you tell us a bit about that?
So Martha's captain, Gilly Flaherty at West Ham. She owns a small business called the Cryo Lounge. And basically during the coronavirus, they were forced to shut down, and the business itself was only a year old. So they were put in a very, very vulnerable situation. And just to do our part, us four helped, raise a bit of money for them, just to keep them on their feet for the time being during the pandemic, to make sure that, Gilly was able to continue building her business. I think they actually had they opened for the first day today. So, hopefully things were on the rise for them. And, we just wanted to assist, local businesses as much as we could. And of course, Gilly being really close to Martha, I kind of got dragged into it by her. I didn't realize running I was going to have to do. But yeah, we have to support each other, don't we, in times like this?
Is there any way that, people listening to this and all that people can support her business or other small businesses?
Yeah, well, I think I definitely encourage people to, come and look up on the Lewes website how you can support and invest in our club, and, learn a bit more about Lewes as a club, because like I said, it's an absolutely amazing place. And if you just came to a game, you'd feel like part of the family already. And then, with the Cryo Lounge as well, I'm pretty sure you can buy like vouchers and stuff. And, if you do have a sports team or you're part of a sports team, you can go check out the treatments that they have to offer. And it really, really does make a difference to your body as an athlete, and can help you, make those next steps in progressing yourself if you take it seriously enough. And I would definitely recommend going to try book something in with them.
So talking about, supporting people, I think, although this is a football podcast, I think something that we've been made aware of by the Black Lives Matter movement is police brutality
in different places. So there are comparisons between, the United Kingdom and the United States, the police forces in both places. The States, the police are militarized, and yet in the United Kingdom, some of them don't even have pistols, don't even have any firearms. So you have been in both places for quite a long time. Do you have any insight into this comparison?
Definitely. I think because I lived in America and I kind of witnessed, as much as a white person can in America, how bad it was. And, at Auburn University, we're extremely inclusive and, we have people from all different backgrounds on our campus and, we all look out for each other as a family, like we're with the Auburn family. And, we would see, and witness people being discriminated against regularly, just for the color of their skin. And, you'd see things in the media very often of, people being shot innocently just because of the color of their skin. And sometimes it would be completely overlooked in the media as well. And I think it's kind of why I'm so passionate about it now. In the UK, it isn't as bad as it is in America. I don't think so. Just from my experience, I could be wrong. But people have been oppressed for so long, and, it really frustrates me when people say, like, black people are part of gangs and this sort of thing. And I'm just kind of like, you have to understand, like, black people have been oppressed and are in a situation to where they've been underprivileged compared to us. Like, we need to recognize that our white privilege has allowed us to, move forward and almost ignore how bad racism is. But I think over here it's just like people are struggling to recognize the issue, where I think the Black Lives Matter movement and how many people have come out since the Black Lives Matter movement and been passionate against it just shows how racist our country actually is as well. But yeah, I think the more education, the better. When I studied history in school, and luckily enough, we studied American history and a lot into Black history. So I've kind of learnt about how bad it was, but I don't think I'll ever be able to understand it. But all we can do is, donate to the communities that are supporting the cause, like donate to Black Lives Matter, sign petitions. There's so many petitions out there right now that are towards good causes, helping get innocent people out of, incarceration. And yeah, it's working. The protests are working, and I hope that people keep the momentum moving forward, and that we're able to, keep moving forward and take those steps daily, and, keep speaking to each other, and, hopefully we can progress. And I just want everybody to be equal, and it's going to be a long battle, but yeah, the more people that talk openly about it, I think the better. And I think we need to keep the momentum going with the Black Lives Matter movement.
We have like a few quick fire questions before we sort of try to wrap the whole thing up. This is a scenario that we saw online. So let's say after the interview, for whatever reason, you find a lottery ticket and then you end up winning, let's say, £100 million. That's what they wrote. So how would you spend it?
I would make most of the teams in the second division go full time, but I'd probably give Lewes the biggest budget.
Right.
Just for bias.
Nice. Let's talk about something about you playing a game. Before the game, any pre-match rituals for you?
I love crazy socks, and I have like a funky sock collection, and every single game day I will pick a crazy pair of socks that I will wear to the game, and I probably won't play in them because they're not that comfortable, but I'll wear crazy socks to every game.
Right. Is there a reason why, or is this just some sort of random choice?
My dad, when my dad was younger, he always had crazy socks, and I only kind of put the two together. I have like an obsession with really cool socks, so right. I think since I kind of put the comparison together the other like week that I loved crazy socks because my dad always wore crazy socks when I was growing up, and it was just taking a bit of him to the game with me.
This is a spin-off from some of those famous interview questions. So let's say you can have lunch with any football player, dead or alive. So do you take them to eat fish and chips?
If I was going with like David Beckham, then yeah, I would take him to eat fish and chips.
Right.
But like if I was, I don't know, if it was like Mbappe, like the French food is so much better than the British food, so I don't think I would appreciate it.
Is there like a particular compliment that you received and you think it was one of the best ones you ever have?
I guess like coming back from playing in America, I was always pretty average pace, and now being back in the UK, I get called fast quite a bit, and I've never been fast, so I absolutely love getting called fast.
This is a segment where we named it The Voices. It's where we sort of have guests coming on or other players or coaches to give us a message to support young girls and boys who are facing challenges while they're chasing their dreams, especially under current situation. So we just want to ask you to say anything really to those young girls and boys who may want to become a player one day like you.
Yeah, so to the young girls and boys that have the dream of playing professionally, all I'd have to say to you is, don't let anybody ever tell you that you're not good enough. Don't ever listen to somebody when they say that you can't do it. Have that chip on your shoulder. Always believe that you can do it, and if you have that mentality going into every single training session, you will get as far as you can in the sport, and you will have a hell of a lot of fun doing it, and you will learn so much doing it, and you will have a great life ahead of you. So yeah, just stick with it, and there's going to be adversity, but you always stand back up, you always brush off those negative comments and put at the front of your brain that you can do it and believe in yourself.
Ellie, thanks a lot for joining us on the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. You have a nice time. Okay, bye Harry, bye.
Thanks.
Here's what else you need to know this week. Since our last episode, the US Soccer's Board of Directors has voted to repeal a 2007 policy that required national team players to stand during the national anthem, a rule adopted after Megan Rapinoe knelt in support of Colin Kaepernick. President Donald Trump said he will not watch US soccer teams anymore, which could be good news. Last time he left the game early, the New England Patriots made an unbelievable comeback and won the Super Bowl. Chelsea are to donate the prize money for winning the WSL to Refuge, a charity which supports women and children experiencing domestic abuse. Manager Emma Hayes said it is, quote, a charity that is close to the hearts and minds of the women's team. Newly promoted Aston Villa will play their WSL games at Warsaw's Bank Stadium. Aston Villa, who were awarded the FA Women's Championship title last week, have agreed a 2-year ground share deal with the League Two side. The stadium has a maximum capacity of 1,100 and will be one of the biggest in the WSL next season. Plans to finish this season's Champions League and Europa League will be discussed at a meeting of UEFA's Executive Committee on Wednesday, with the Women's Champions League set to take place in northern Spain. Australian and New Zealand bosses have embraced a new FIFA report that rates their bid to co-host the 2023 Women's World Cup the best of their 3 submissions. FIFA said that Australia and New Zealand scored 4.1 points to joint bid from a maximum 5 in a bid evaluation report grading its plan for the first 32-team women's tournament. Japan scored 3.9 and Colombia trailed with 2.8. That's it for our show this week. If you liked the podcast, remember to rate, subscribe, and share it with your friends and family. We'll be back next week. Thank you again for listening. I'm Harry Chan, and this is the She Plays On Women's Football Podcast.